Welcome to the 3D Avatar Builder tutorial series part 5. In this episode, we will create a simple dress from scratch using Blender, allowing you to create as many compatible assets as you like. Still in Blender, we will also cover how to generate good-looking thumbnails for our assets. We will also add a mechanism to hide assets based on other ones. For example, this lovely bunny outfit can't be combined with the bottom and shoes. Of course, this asset and many more are already in the zip file included in the GitHub repository. Many more to come, thanks to Queen Kirzos. Currently, we are using the assets provided by Kirzos. They are lovely, but what I want to teach you is how you could create your assets that are compatible with our armature and our character builder. You can find the Blender file in the zip on the repository. This is what you will find when you open it. The first thing is currently I think we have face orientation. You can disable it so you don't have the blue color. What we will try to do is a dress. So we don't need to see currently the clothes that we have. So we can hide them. We can also hide the shoes. On the right you can see all the assets that we have. Most of them are hidden. It's what we just did. And on the right you need to enable base body. I will move my head, take the base body here and click on the eyes. So now it is visible. Let's start by creating our dress mesh. I hope the video won't get censored because we have a naked body. Let's go to front mode, Shift A, add a mesh, and we will use a cylinder. Let's put it a bit on top. Let's try to scale it down so you can see we already have a nice dress. Yes, I didn't tell you, it won't be a beautiful asset, a beautiful dress. What I want to show you is how you rig it and how you make it compatible. I'm not the best at 3D designing models, but still we will try to do something decent. So once you have the base shape, switch to edit mode. Then what we can try is select the top face, shrink it a little bit. The bottom seems not so bad, maybe a bit shorter. Overall, we can expand it, so on the side it's better. Let's adjust a bit the neck. Looks not so bad. Maybe again bigger, but lower here and shrink it. So now the skin isn't going out on the sides. Below, we can reduce the length and we can make it a bit smaller. Okay, shouldn't be so bad. Before doing some polish, what we will want is to assign the material. So now it will be easier to select. We can take one onto stripe. Okay, here, okay, perfect. Now on the right, we'll switch to the materials. We will add a new material that we will name color underscore dress. It's very important that you keep the color underscore because this is how we know a color can be changed on our material in the code. Okay, so now assign it. Then you can adjust the color of the stripes, but currently we have everything with it. So let's add another material. Let's assign this. Choose a new, we'll name it white. Then we will invert the selection with Command I for invert, and we will assign the white. Oh, we already had the one, so let's use the same. Maybe it will be a bit glossy currently. So on the color dress, we can increase the roughness, and on the white I see it is at 0, so I will use the second white and increase the roughness too. Of course, this is just my design choice, so you can choose whatever you like. Fine, so now we can polish a bit the design. First, when we will want to animate it, currently if you look in wireframe, you can see we have very few vertices, very few faces. So we won't be able to blend it and to fold the clothes to be animated. What we need to do is to create loop cuts. use Command R. With the mouse wheel, you can select how many you want, choose a good amount, Escape key because you don't need to move it, and now we have a lot of faces that you will be able to animate correctly. This is not perfect, but that will do it. Select the top face. Now, because we have a separation, we should be able to scale it a bit. I will disable proportional editing. Scale it down a bit to get closer to the neck. And okay, let's say this design is good to us. We want to use this, even if in the real world you would never want that dress. Now, what we want to do before attaching it to the bone and to do the weight painting is to also include the skin, the arms and legs inside our model, inside our asset. First, we can get rid of the head and the different parts. Then let's select the base body, enter in edit mode and go in front. What we want is to select the parts that are outside. To be able to visualize it, we can click here to see the transparency. So you can see that we also have skin inside, and we don't want to select it because it would conflict when our body will move. And it's invisible faces we don't want to have in our final model. That would take some space for nothing, instead just creating more conflict. Okay, so now let's go back to front view. You have the transparency enabled and hit the C command. With the mouse wheel, you can make it bigger. And now we'll just select the skin part we want to use. So you can click and it will select the part. Take a bit of the skin inside the dress because you don't want to have gaps. So for the moment, you can take a bit more. Then once you are okay with it, hit Escape key. Zoom a little bit just to ensure you have everything you need, but maybe we have a bit more. So you can do the opposite. You still hit the C key, but you hold the Shift key, and now when you click, it will deselect. So what I don't need, I will deselect it. Here, maybe we can add a bit more, but not much more. Here I took more than I needed, so I will deselect this portion. That looked good on the left arm. Let's do the same for the right one. So hit C, select everything close to the dress, Escape key, zoom in and check if you have too much or not enough. And it looks pretty good. Okay, now we can do it on the top. So best is to go to front view, select the neck, a bit of the skin below. Doesn't have to be perfect, just to ensure you have between the dress and the skin. Rotate and do a check. It seems to be good. And last, the legs. Again, C, take all the faces here. Same on the right leg. Well, it's the left leg. Escape key, rotate and do a simple check. And it looks fine. So currently, we have the part of the skin we want to integrate in our final asset. Because we don't want to destroy our existing base body, this is something we will reuse for the other assets. We will duplicate the part that we selected. So with Shift D, and now if you move it, you can see what you selected. So it can be good to see if you have not enough or too much. Escape key, then spacebar, separate by selection. So now you can see you have base body 3. This is the one that you just created. If you hide base body 1, you can see you have your selection. By the way, I used spacebar and it showed me a search bar. If you don't have the same, go to File, Edit, Preferences, and in Key Map, my settings are spacebar action. It is search. It's very practical when you have some shortcuts, some keyboard biting you don't know. You know the name, you just type spacebar, you search it and you find it. Okay, so now we have two separate that constitute our asset. We can move it. We want to join them, so select both, and then search bar, join. And you can see on the right, you will have a preview of the shortcut. So it's Command J, then enter, and you have your dress. It's one asset. If you open it in edit mode, it looks good. You can do a quick look around to see if you don't have holes, because it will look weird once animated. But honestly, my asset already look weird. Now what we want is to attach it to our skeleton, to our armature. So when we will have an animation, it will follow it. Because currently, if I select the armature, I go to the settings on the right and I go to pose position, you can see that the base body is following, but not the dress. The skin is currently following because this is a duplicate of something that was already weight painted. But the dress, it's not moving at all, so it looks weird. So let's get back to rest position and be sure you follow my order. So first the dress, then with command, select the armature. So you have both selected. Use command P for make parent and choose set parent to with automatic weight. And if you have this bad result, maybe we did something wrong. So let's undo, and let's undo until the join of the two. And instead of joining having base body as the main, we will join it into the cylinder. So now we can do the join, select into the armature, and Command P with automatic weights. And it looks way better. Now because we are on the armature on the right, we can try the pose position. And you can see that the dress is also following the animation. If we try to play it, I don't know why it's laggy, but you can see it's following. That's great. Let's get back to rest position. And then if we want to export our asset, so what we need is to select our dress. Let's rename it dress like we did before. Be sure that you have the dress selected and the armature selected. Then file, export into GLB, name your asset. I named it Wawa dress. Then include. Be sure that you only have a limit to selected objects, or you would export all the different assets. And then you can also add some compression and export it. Let's check if in Visual Studio Code in the preview it looks good. It seems it's fine. Well, good is not the best term for this asset, but it looks like what we expect it to look. And to be sure it includes everything, you can drag and drop it into gltf.poemandress. So you also have the preview. And you can see that you have the skin mesh. So we correctly have the armature. It will work like the other assets. Inside our assets, what we want is to be able to generate a nice thumbnail for here. Currently, it's looking bad. We don't have transparency and it's very minimal. For this, we will still use Blender, but we will start from scratch. Go File, New and General. Hit A to select everything, X to delete. Let's drag and drop one of the assets. I will start with a lovely crown. Click on Import GLTF, or you can do File Import on the top left, but drag and drop is useful. Import, and you will have this. This is not what you want. This is caused by the armature and the bones. So just undo, and we will import it again. But when you import on the bone direction, switch to Fortune, Import, and now you can see we have the armature, we don't need it, so we can hide it, and we have our crown. Let's try to positionate it in the middle. So go into front view, center it, and what we need to add to be able to do a render is a camera. So Shift A, add, and a camera. If you don't like the position of your camera, you can go where you want it to be, use space bar, and align active camera to view. So now it will look where you were looking at. so it will position it perfectly well. We want our thumbnail to be squared. Currently, it's rendering a rectangle, so we need to adjust the render settings. It's, I think, here. And the resolution X and Y will be the image it will generate. To make it fast, and because it's only small square we are displaying, 512 should be enough, maybe 256 too. Let's see if what we render is correct. It seems to be. If you need to zoom in or zoom out, go on the camera settings and adjust the focal length. Okay, maybe let's take something like this, or we can scale this up and down. Currently, it's a bit on the side, so let's check why it is. Maybe you can take our camera, adjust the X position in the center. Looks better, but of course, we would adjust the position of our asset. If we try to do a render with render image, we see we have no light, because currently we are not rendering in the right render mode. What we need is to do Z and C rendered. And rendered, there are no lights. But before adding our lights, we want to change into ray tracing mode, so we will have really beautiful light effects. Inside the scene, we will switch the render engine to cycles. Based on your device, you will want to use your CPU or GPU. If you have a nice GPU, use it. If it's too slow compared to CPU, adjust and use CPU. I have an M1 Max, I use the GPU, it's faster. Then for the number of samples, you can reduce it to 1024. Here it's for the viewport, so it's the preview we have here. And the render, it's when we do render image, so we want it to be fast. Let's use also 1024. Fine, because we don't have light, we couldn't see the difference. If we move, we can see it's doing the ray tracing, but it's very fast. We will use a 3-point light setting. It is like my YouTube setup. You have 2 lights in the front and 1 in the back. You can search on YouTube, you will find a lot of tutorials about this in Blender. I will show you a simple solution, but feel free to use different one. So what I will do is Shift A, add a light. I will use 3 sun. It's not ideal, but it's the simplest. I will go on the front. I will position it slightly on the right. Then if I go on the side, I will aim at our object. Perfect. Now let's check how it is. We will rotate it to face our object. So it should look like this. And this is our main light. So we name it key light. Then to make some contrasts, we'll have another light. We can go to top view, duplicate this one, rotate it, and it will be the fill light. And we will add another one to make some separation with the background and to have a nice effect. We put it slightly behind, looking at our object. And this is named rim light or backlight, if I'm not doing any mistake in the naming. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have now. We can go to our camera and we have this. You can see nice reflection. The rim light, this is on the left. You can see here the nice effect it's doing, but we need to add the power of our light. Let's start by the key light, the most important one. Go to the light settings and adjust the strength. I was using 20, but maybe it's too much here. So let's reduce a bit. Then for the fill light, it has to be way less than the key light for the contrast. And then for the rim light, we can go pretty powerful. Let's change the color to not be pure white, but slightly light blue. And the strength to something like 50. So it's adding a bit of color to the nice reflections. Okay, that doesn't look bad. We can select the crown and rotate it a bit, adjust its position to make it more exciting. Once you are good, this frame is where the thumbnail will be done. So you can scale a bit the crown to fill it completely. Just leave a bit of space on the edges. but not too small. Of course, fine-tune the strength of the light, the position to something you like. And now let's try to render our image. Render image. Because it's pretty small, it should be pretty fast. And here we are. You can see I didn't center it correctly. Let's adjust it a bit. Here. And render again. Perfect. Now let's save our image. Click on image in the small box it opened and save. Be sure that you are in PNG, RGBA, and thumbnail crown. And save as image. This is what we get. This is pretty nice, but we don't have a transparent background. So you can keep it if you like to keep a solid color behind. But if you want to change the color with your UI and your CSS, we can have a transparent background. So to enable transparency, you need to go to render settings on the right, then scroll down to film and click on transparent. You can see it will change it here. You will see the classic checkboard tile, then render image, save it again. And we now have a transparent background. Let's try to generate other thumbnails with our process. We can remove the other asset and we will import our dress. So import, be sure it's Fortune. Import it, position it, hide the armature, scale down the asset. And maybe here our lights are too strong, so we need to adjust it. Be sure that it's correctly centered. Reduce the key light in the light setting. Let's put it to 1. The rim light to 10. And the fill light to 1. Maybe we don't have enough contrast, so let's increase the key light to something better. And a very subtle fill light with a stronger key light looks pretty good. Okay, we'll use this. Maybe position it at the center. Render image. And we have our perfect thumbnail. Click on image. Save. Thumbnail. Wawa dress and save as image. Let's try it on the last asset. Let's drag and drop outfit 3. Position it down. It's just to check if our global settings are fine before doing too many. So okay, the size is different because we have a long bunny ears, but I guess it will be fine in the list. We can hide the previous one. And now the lights are looking pretty good. I really like what the backlight is doing on the edges. Okay, now render image and save it to image, save, thumbnail, bunny. Time to try those assets inside our interface. I think they are all new. So new record, group. I will add the dress to the top. I'll name it Wawa dress. The thumbnail, it is here, open. And the URL is also here, open and create. And even here, you can compare the thumbnail. You have the transparent one compared to the one with the black background that we can't have control on it. Let's add the other assets inside the top, or you could create an outfit group if you prefer, because it's a full body asset that we are going to add. It's the bunny outfit, thumbnail bunny, open, and I think it is outfit 3, create, and then our lovely crown. It will be in the hats group, crown, we add our thumbnail, perfect, and the file. And I think this is hat 1, open and create. Let's reload our interface and let's open the hat. We now have this beautiful crown available. You can see we have the opacity when we hover it. Maybe we'll add a background later. and click on it. Now we have this lovely crown on top of our avatar. Let's try the other ones. They are in top. It's looking way better with our thumbnails than the previous one. Let's take the dress we created. Because the default color is white, it's doing white and white, but we can change the color and we see that our dress is looking almost correctly. Because for the stripes, I should have used the texture and not vertex paint. We have those small moves where it's happening, but still it's decent and it's following our idle animation. But we have an issue. Currently, we are wearing a pant, but we can't remove pants and we don't want to allow people to not have legs. It's even more visible if we select the bunny. It's conflicting with the shoes and also the bottom. For the hair, it's okay because we can make the hair removable. And it's not looking that bad when we have hair. It just depends on the haircut. This one is looking great with it. To be able, when we have an outfit that is conflicting with other assets, we'll create a mechanism. What we will do is on each asset, we will add a new column. Let's create it here, a new field. It will be a relation with the groups. So the collection, it will be with the groups. And it will be a multiple because we can lock many other groups. For example, the bottom and the shoes when we are the bunny. Let's name it locked groups. And now save changes. It's pretty easy how we configure it inside our database. We take the bunny and we want it to lock two other groups. So the bottom, our asset is the top, so we don't want to lock it. And the shoes. Perfect. Save changes. And for the dress that we created, if you created the same than me, we will lock the bottom because we don't want pants and dress. Well, it could be a style. And the shoes, we don't want to lock them, so we keep it like this. And save changes. To handle the logic inside our store, below assets, we will create something named locked groups. And it will be an object, so we can use the category names. And below our store, we can create a method that we will name apply locked assets. What we will do is first we get our current customization. So it's all the assets applied to our character. Then all the categories to be able to get the names. And we create a new object, locked groups. Then we iterate through all the different assets currently on our character. And if the current asset has locked groups, so an array maybe containing only one item, like the shoes or the bottom or both, what we do is we loop through that array. We get the category name by searching it using the ID of the locked group and from our categories, and we get the name of that category. Then, if our current locked group that we are defining here doesn't contain this category name, we will assign it a new empty array. And then inside that array, we will add the name of the asset that is locking that category, and also the name of the category that is locking it. So we will be able to use it in our UI to explain to the user why they can't see what they are selecting in that category, or we could even lock the category. And finally, we just set the new locked groups. Because we have a nice store, a nice state management, we just need to call that method when it is important. So here, what do we have after the randomize? Because it's selecting different assets, we want to apply our method. So apply locked assets. Then when we change the assets, so currently we are not having a defined function. Okay, so after the set of the new asset, we also call apply locked assets. And one last time, I guess it's at the end of the fetch categories when we set the default values. So here too, so far we didn't do anything on our UI, so we won't see any difference. To do it easily, we will simply go to our asset, and currently we have access to the category name, so we can check if it is locked inside our locked group. So we get access to our locked groups, and then before rendering our asset, we check if our group is locked. with our current category name. And if it's the case, we simply return null. And now you can see we don't have pants or shoes anymore conflicting with our lovely bunny suite. But if we go to bottom and we try to change the pants, nothing is happening, and as a user, it can be difficult to understand. So let's add some indication inside our UI. Let's open the UI where we have all our assets. Let's get access to locked groups. So we really need everything here. So it's nice that we didn't select things one by one. So what do we have inside our assets box? We have all the categories, and below, based on our current category, we are displaying all the different assets. So between this, we will add some display. So we check if on our current category we are locked. So if it has an array, it means something is locking it. And then we display some red text. Asset is hidden by, and because it's an array, it can be multiple assets blocking it. We will just map with the asset name and its category. So it's very explicit for the user. And we use join to use a comma if we have multiple assets. Let's save it. So now we have our bunny again, and we go to bottom, and you see asset is hidden by bunny outfit, which is in the bottom category. But there is a mistake, it is in the top, so I need to change something. So here, instead of using directly category name, which is the one that is locked, we need to find the category from the asset that is locking the other. So we name it locking asset category name, and we'll find the category related to this, and we will assign it to category name. Let's try it again, and bottom, it's locked by a top. So we go to top, we change it, this one will block it too, but if a one is not blocking, then you won't have it displayed anymore. We can also enhance a bit the UI. Instead of keeping them transparent here, you can decide on the boxes to use any color you like. For example, if you want flashy colors, you can use it, but I will use dark colors. So black, full black to gray 800. It's looking better, but because we have a transparent border, it's not perfect. Maybe it's best to switch to a black one. And yes, when we have transparent thumbnails, it's looking better. Be sure to also update on the removable one. Simply copy it, go here, add it, and change the border too. And here we are. It will be better once we have all the thumbnails. Thank you for watching. We are close to have a complete professional 3D avatar builder. In the next video, we'll focus on polishing and enhancements, including camera animations, taking pictures of our avatars, and more. To continue the journey with me and build your own 3D avatar configurator, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when the next part is released. See you in the next video.